Right, final one I'm going to do this time. I will do other ones later. Right, specifically, I'm going to talk about crossing, and I'm going to call this one. I never get a winger with crossing, but he still gets loads of assists. Um, because crossing does do things, but it doesn't do what you think. Well, maybe it does do what you think. God knows what you think. Maybe it does do what you think. Maybe it does do what you think. So, crossing determines how accurate a player's cross is, and a pass determines how accurate a player's pass. Now, obviously, there is more to it than just crossing. We've got technique as well, um, but just at the moment, just bear with me. So, let's say you have got a player that's got 20 crossing and one passing. You want the player to be in this one of the coordinates, okay? So it needs to be. Remember, I said this, and I know I split into six here because I literally can't count. So crosses only proc, they only trigger from the width of the pitch. You have to be in this box. So your winger, for him to proc the cross, to put a cross in here, has to be in this final section, okay? It has to be right on the right hand side of the pitch or right on the left hand side of the pitch. If the winger gets here and they want to put a cross into the box, it does not check crossing, it checks passing. So it checks crossing from here and it checks passing from here. So if you've got a really good winger with crossing, you want him to go down the line. If you've got a winger that has not got very good crossing, you want him to come inside because that will use his passing. Um, Now, obviously, technique is also important as well. So you want technique because technique determines if he hits this exact angle that he wants. But essentially, if you've got a winger that hasn't got good crossing, so let me write this. So if a winger's got good crossing, this is what we want him to do. We want him to get into here. If he hasn't got good crossing, we just want him instead to get to here where a passing check is done. So what this means is if you buy a centre forward who has good crossing and not good passing, what you can do to try and manipulate the game is you can make it so your centre forward goes right over here so that when you get the ball he goes here and he puts a cross in from here. Okay, if he doesn't have good crossing, you want him to be acting in these sections here. Now, I don't know why you'd want a centre forward to go cross in as opposed to good forward off the ball. Who really cares about that? Anyway, so yeah, this is like, so you can have wingers that have rubbish crossing that get loads and loads of assists because they've got good passing and they come in and make their crosses. So you know if you're playing a 4-3-1 or whatever it is, I can't remember, 4-1-3-2, then obviously no one needs crossing. Um, the crossing generally is always a high cross. It's generally like not a cross across the ground. I believe it usually does the ball in the air, whereas a pass can go both. A pass can use an arc. So obviously, if you've got crossing, you want your centre forwards to have jumping, bravery, and then heading. Um, and off the ball, obviously, if you've got passing, it's not so much off the ball, and pace is probably good enough. Um, so yeah, if you've ever wondered about crossing, that's how crossing works.